In the silent halls of history, secrets lie dormant, waiting for their time to be revealed. And sometimes these secrets come wrapped in linen and mystery. If you think you've seen it all when it comes to the wonders of Egypt, get ready to be shocked out of your bones. Today, we unravel the enigma of a 2,500-year-old mummy whose secret could shake the very foundations of our understanding of the past. Join us as we journey back in time, peeling back the layers of history to reveal a discovery that will leave you astounded. When mummies are uncovered, it is not unusual to encounter some treasure trove of artifacts alongside them, but golden tongues? How rare and unique. In the ruins of the ancient city of Oxyrhynchus, which is now called Bahnasa, archaeologists have uncovered two tombs containing mummified remains of a man and a woman who died about 2,500 years ago. During the excavation, the archaeological team stumbled upon a very rare and unique find: 3 gold foil tongues, and adding to the surprise, one of the tombs had never been opened. This is very important because it's rare to find a tomb that has been left completely sealed and untouched for millennia. The sealed tomb, containing a male sarcophagus made with limestone, held mummified remains and an array of items, including a scarab, amulet, 4 canopic jars that were used in the mummification process, more than 400 pieces of faience in the form of small funerary figures made of glazed earthenware. The most shocking find was that the mummy's face was well preserved, with a golden tongue still inside the mouth. So you might be wondering, why is such a valuable commodity lying in waste inside a dead man's mouth? Well, in ancient Egypt, it was recorded that embalmers sometimes crafted tongues from gold foil and placed them inside the mouths of the dead to enable them to speak to Osiris, the god of the underworld. The inscriptions on the uncovered vessel are still being studied to reveal the identity of the buried person. Archaeologists have also discovered another mummy in Alexandria with a similar gold tongue dating around 2,000 years ago. This other tomb held a sarcophagus in the shape of a woman, but the mummified remains were in poor shape. Apparently, the tomb had been raided by grave robbers who did a poor cleanup job at the time of the burial, leaving the remains in poor shape. Buried alongside the body were beads, a stone headrest amulet, and a figure of the falcon-headed god Osiris. 2 more gold tongues were also found. One was inside the woman's mouth, and the other was believed to have been placed in the mouth of a child's remains. It's a good thing the grave robbers didn't cart away this archaeological treasure, especially since the 3 gold tongues found into 2 tombs dating back to the Roman period that began in 30 BCE. Interestingly, golden tongues have only been found at archaeological sites in Alexandria and Bahnasa. Another discovery had been uncovered on a not-so-recent find. Archaeologists have uncovered a 2,500-year-old mummy inside an Egyptian coffin that has been presumed to be empty for decades. The coffin has been listed as empty for nearly 160 years and was stored at the University of Sydney's museum. In 1860, the coffin was marked as empty, and since then, it has been assumed to be a mere case filled with debris until recently, when scientists scanned the innards and made a shocking discovery. The alleged empty coffin was not empty after all. The 2,500-year-old Egyptian coffin contained mummified human remains. The coffin dates back to the 6th century BCE. Hieroglyphs suggest it belonged to the noblewoman Mummified, who served as the goddess of the temple, Sekhmet. So how did this Egyptian coffin end up in a museum, and why has it been assumed to be empty for decades? In the late 1850s, Sir Charles Nicholson purchased the mummy from an Egyptian antiquities market, and while serving as vice-chancellor, he donated the sarcophagus along with hundreds of other artifacts to found the museum, and for decades, the coffin sat in an acrylic case in a classroom used for workshops. Overshadowed by more impressive artifacts in the museum collection, it has not been opened for 20 years. Though researchers at the time didn't think it contained a mummy, it was unclear what composed the mixed debris inside. Apparently, nobody cared to find out until recently, when museum archaeologists decided to take a peek inside, only to find out that the alleged debris was actually a mummy. After removing the ornate lid, they found a surprising array of human bones, beads, and bandages. To find such an assemblage was extraordinary, and to think something this huge had been sitting on acrylic glass all these years well added to the thrill. This find became a striking testament to the richness and depth of the Nicholas collection. Coffins were usually purchased in the 19th and early 20th centuries with complete mummies, although in some cases, the mummy they contain might not be the coffin's original occupant. On rare occasions, coffins were obtained with mummified debris, and curatorial staff usually disassembled the remains, seeking objects for display. The museum's collection includes 3 complete mummies for which X-rays and CT scans were completed in the late 1990s. 2 adult mummies in the coffins of Merwin and Paid Ishiaki, and 1 child mummy of a boy known as Oris. Since the newly found remains within Mummified's coffin had never been studied, scientists analyzed it using a CT scanner before excavating the mummy. With the help of the Macquarie Medical Imaging Team and the Macquarie University Hospital, the researchers were able to scan the remains inside the Mummified's coffin, including the other 3 mummies. The captured images of the Mummified's coffin revealed a mixed-up skeleton, but included 2 mummified ankles, feet, and toes likely belonging to a single person at least 30 years old. However, it's unclear whether the remains actually belong to Mummifieds. This is because when the coffin was purchased, they were popular souvenirs, and interested buyers could request a mummy to be included for an extra fee, regardless of whether or not the pair were a match. While mummy excavations are rare today due to the ethical concerns, the Mummified's coffin was in such poor shape that excavation was the best option for preservation. Surprisingly, the excavation led to another discovery. Apparently, resin was poured into the mummy's skull after its brain was removed, and the same thing was done to Tutankhamun, the most famous mummy ever found. Discovering 1 or 2 ancient coffins containing Egyptian mummies is a common find, but stumbling upon over 100 at the same spot is quite rare and almost impossible. Recent finds by archaeologists have left many with their mouths wide open. South of the Egyptian capital, Cairo, archaeologists discovered a massive burial site filled with at least 100 ancient coffins and 40 glided statues. Some of the colorful, sealed sarcophagi assumed to have been buried for more than 2,500 years ago contain mummies wrapped in cloth. These epic finds date back to the Ptolemaic dynasty that ruled Egypt from around 320 BC to 30 BC, and also from the late period between 664 and 332 BC. This mind-blowing discovery is now being displayed in a makeshift exhibit at the feet of the famed stepped pyramid of Djoser at Saqqara. This discovery is massive, not just by implication, but also in numbers, as the coffins discovered are not few, and their age has sent everyone talking. Looking at Egypt about 2,500 years ago says a lot about these mummies and how old they are. These fascinating details help us understand how groundbreaking this discovery is, Egypt's Tourism and Antiquities Minister claimed. This shocking discovery is one of the latest in a series of archaeological finds in Egypt. These shafts, full of well-glided, well-decorated, and well-painted coffins, have left people puzzled and speculating on how much an advanced technique was possible in such an archaic period. Several items are always found alongside Egyptian mummies. Since some are shockingly unexpected, scientists are always anticipating the next shocking item that would be found alongside an Egyptian mummy. Recently, a group of archaeologists excavating tombs in the ancient necropolis of Saqqara near Cairo discovered the remains of a man named Hakashapes who lived approximately around 2300 BC. The mummy was found inside a limestone sarcophagus in a burial shaft. Interestingly, the body and its wrappings were unusually well preserved for this period. Everyone is always wondering how Egyptians preserve their dead because they seem to be masters at it. The Greek historian Herodotus of Halicarnassus in the 5th century BC described the elaborate way Egyptians preserved their dead. He recorded that the brain was removed through the nostrils with a hook, while the inner organs were removed through a cut in the abdomen. The cut was then stitched up and the body rinsed with wine and spices. The body would then be left to dry in a natron solution, a substance harvested from dry lake beds and used to absorb moisture for up to 70 days. After this period, the body would be then carefully wrapped in linen bandages and finally laid to rest inside a coffin. At the time Herodotus wrote this, Egyptians had been practicing mummification for more than 2 millennia, gradually perfecting the technique through experimentation. The pre-dynastic mummies in the 4th millennium BC were so well preserved by the dry desert sands without any human intervention. In fact, the tattoos are still left visible. The earliest attempts to replicate the outcome by artificial means were less effective, so the discovered Hakashepes represent an early example of successful preservation. Hakashepes' arms and legs were individually wrapped to give the body a lifelike appearance. A head was painted with eyes, a mouth, and dark hair. More striking, however, were the gold leaves that had been carefully applied to give the illusion of golden skin. According to Egyptian beliefs, gold was the color of the gods, and gliding the bodies of the dead with gold expressed the idea that they acquired divine qualities in the afterlife. Egypt is a country with a rich history of culture and beliefs. Egyptians have long observed that bodies buried in graves without direct contact with the drying sands tend to decompose and sought to prevent this for religious reasons. Without a physical body to which the dead could return, they believed that Ka, which is the soul's essence, could not partake in food offerings brought to the cemetery and was instead left to roam the world of the living as a harmful spirit. Hence, mummification techniques were developed in order to preserve the body for the ka. The earliest methods, which emerged no later than the time of state unification, were around 3100 BC. The process involved wrapping the body with resin-soaked lined bandages. However, as the intestines were left in place, the body eventually decomposed. The lack of preserved human remains from this early period means that archaeologists have limited data on demographics, life expectancy, population health, and diet. For this reason, the discovery of Hekashep's remains was highly significant. The scientific examination of the body will provide important insight into the mummification techniques used. Scientific analysis of the skeleton and teeth might also shed light on where Hekashep grew up, what kind of food he ate, his health, his age, and probably the cause of his death. Anything and everything that could be discovered. Egypt frequently touts its archaeological discoveries in hopes of spurring a vital tourism industry that has been reeling from political turmoil. So far, there are no exact statistics on how many mummies have been excavated in this mysterious land in Egypt. It is also impossible to estimate how many undiscovered mummies still exist. What discovery do you find most shocking? The mummies with golden tongues, the alleged empty coffin that turned out to be not empty, or the mummy wrapped in gold, including the bizarre reason these guys chose to mummify their dead in ancient times? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel for more videos. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.